Hi everyone, so today we're going to be going through a 2020 election prediction between Seth Moulton, the congressman from Massachusetts, and Donald Trump, the incumbent US president from New York. So as you guys may or may not know, Seth Moulton is running for president. He did not make it on that debate stage, but he is still running for some reason, and even though, yes, he will not be the nominee, I guarantee you he will not be the nominee for president in 2020. A viewer suggested this, and so that's why I'm doing this 2020 election matchup. Okay, so let's get right into it. So Trump, we see winning Alaska, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, most of Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, and Indiana. So these ones all go into the Donald J. Trump column. As for Seth Moulton, we see him winning Washington, Oregon, California, Hawaii, Illinois, Vermont, his home state of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and the District of Columbia, along with New York and that first district in the state of Maine. Okay, so right now Seth Moulton is at 183 electoral votes, Donald J. Trump at 125. Right now, we see Seth Moulton taking the state of New Mexico. We don't see this being all that difficult for him to do, along with the state of Virginia and Colorado. All of these states voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. We see Seth Moulton being a similar candidate to Mrs. Clinton, and we see Seth Moulton pretty handedly taking those that trio of pretty Democratic states as of right now. Okay, 210 for Seth Moulton, 125 for Donald J. Trump. As for the South, I think the South is an area where Trump can capitalize on. Democrats have not been doing as well here in the recent elections. In 2018, the Democrats failed to pick up the Senate seat in Florida, the governor's seat in Florida, and the Senate seat in Georgia. In 2016, Hillary Clinton failed to carry all three of these states, and in 2014, Democrats did not do too well in all three of these states. So as you can see in the South, Democrats not doing as well as perhaps they would have liked. So 210 for Seth Moulton, 125 for Donald Trump. We see Trump winning the states of Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina, that trio of states that helped Trump win in 2016. We see those same voters coming back for Trump in 2020 as well. Some people bring up the argument that former felons can now vote in the state of Florida, but we don't see this being enough for Seth Moulton to get over the line. Especially, I don't see them being very enthusiastic to vote for someone like a Seth Moulton. Okay, so 210 for Seth Moulton, 185 for Donald Trump. Where's another state that Trump can capitalize on and make big gains? We see Trump taking the state of Texas. We don't see it being all that close. We see it being about 6 percentage points. Hillary Clinton carried it by about 7-8 percentage points. We see it narrowing down for Seth Moulton, given the changing demographics in the state, given Beto O'Rourke's successful performance, but we don't see it being enough to get Seth Moulton over the line in Texas. Right now, Trump is at 223 electoral votes. Seth Moulton is at 210. I think the Northeast is an area where Seth Moulton can do quite well in. We see him taking New Hampshire by a likely margin, and we see him taking Maine at large also by a likely margin, but we still see Trump hanging on narrowly to that second district, just because, again, we're giving Moulton the benefit of the doubt here in the Northeast, because he is from the state of Massachusetts, which borders New Hampshire and almost borders the state of Maine. Okay, so 216 electoral votes for Seth Moulton, 224 for Donald Trump. We see Seth Moulton narrowly taking the state of Nevada, We don't see Seth Moulton necessarily exciting many Latino voters, but at the end of the day, we think that Democrats would come out to support Seth Moulton just enough to get him over the line. However, we don't see that being the same case in Arizona. We see Arizona narrowly moving into the Trump column, so that's by a leaning margin. Oops, by a leaning margin. Perfect. Okay, so right now Seth Moulton is at 222, Trump at 235. We only have this Rust Belt area to go through. Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa, kind of like a stretch through there. So 235 for Trump, 222 for Moulton. Where can Trump expand his lead? He can expand it in places like Ohio, where Hillary Clinton did very poorly, and we see it being a similar case for Seth Moulton. We see this going to Trump by about 6 percentage points. And then in the state of Iowa, we see this one also narrowly moving into the Donald Trump column, and also in Nebraska, this one also moves into the Donald Trump column. But we see Seth Moulton narrowly taking the state of Minnesota. Democrats did very well here in the midterms, and Hillary Clinton was able to carry the state, if narrowly. We see Seth Moulton narrowly taking the state of Minnesota. But here's the thing with Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. We see Seth Moulton narrowly taking the state of Michigan. We think he does well enough to get over the line in Michigan. However, we don't see it being the same in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. In these two states, we see Trump narrowly get over the line because Seth Moulton is very similar to Clinton in that he's an establishment politician, and he has been in Washington for quite a few years. We don't see Seth Moulton necessarily appealing to those Rust Belt voters the same way that another potential Democratic candidate, such as a Bernie Sanders, a Joe Biden, and Elizabeth Warren, might be able to do. So that's it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. Right now we have Trump at 290 electoral votes, Seth Moulton at 248. Again, this was a viewer-suggested video. I believe his name was Avery J. Douglas, something like that. I can't quite remember, but something like that. So a shout out to him for providing this viewer-suggested video. Thank you for watching. Good night.